Hi, this is Kelly from paperbeadrollers.com, and today we're going to talk about the most difficult paper bead there is to make, the round paper bead. We're going to talk about why it's so hard to make, and I'll give you some tips and tricks for making them on your own. Let's get started. If you've watched my videos before, you may have heard me say that there are 4 things that you need to consider when you're designing a paper bead. The first one is the width of the paper strip, so that's from this to this. The second one is the length of the paper strip, so all the way from end to end. The third one is the weight of the paper strip, and by weight I mean the thickness of the paper. And then the fourth one is the diameter of the bead roller that you're using. So this part right here that creates the center of the bead. Those are the 4 dimensions that you need to think about when you're designing a paper bead. Now, if you have a paper strip designed and you change any one of those 4 elements, the end result of your bead will be completely different. That's why it's so difficult to make a round paper bead, because each one of those 4 elements needs to be in perfect harmony. Take this round bead, for example. It was made with 65-pound paper. I used the same width and length of paper strip to make this bead, and I used the blue paper bead roller on both. But the paper that I used was a much lighter weight. It was 30 pounds. Now see how elongated this bead is? Changing just one of those 4 elements changed the end result. Sometimes it'll change slightly, and sometimes very dramatically. With a lot of the digital paper bead strip template packs that I sell, you can change things, and it will only change your end result just slightly. So you can use a slightly different size bead roller, or you can use a slightly different size paper, and you're basically going to get the same result that you expected. But when I set out to create a template pack for the round beads, I realized that I was going to have to make it for a specific weight of paper and a specific bead roller size. So I've created the templates I'm about to show you specifically for 65-pound cardstock, which is the most common cardstock you can find. You can get it at your big box stores, your craft stores, office supply stores. You can find it just about everywhere. And with the blue paper bead roller, which is a 1/8 diameter. And I did test it with the red paper bead roller. They do work with the red as well, but they do come out slightly rounder if you use the blue. Enough with the theory. Let's get rolling. Your first round bead will be 8 millimeters when finished. This bead is made with 2 strips. The first one is 6/16 wide at one end, down to 4/16 at the other. It's 5 6/16 long. The second strip is 4/16 wide at the start, taping to nothing at the other end. The strip is 5 7/8 long. Now the method for rolling each of these 3 beads is very similar. Start with strip number 1. Slide the wide end into the slot on the blue bead roller and begin to roll. Now, I'll often say that you don't need to be exact when you're rolling because you can always adjust the layers afterward. But with these round beads, the more exact you can be, the better. I have found that I can never make them look as smooth and round after the fact. They always look better if I'm slow and careful while I roll. When you get to the end of the first strip, add some glue to the tip and press it down. You can smear any excess glue down the bead to help hold the next strip into place. Line up strip 2 so that it is perfectly even with the end of strip 1. Let it sit for a second so that the glue sets and it doesn't slide when you begin to roll. Then carefully roll the strip until you get to the end. Now tag it down, being careful to line it up nicely. And there is your 8 millimeter round bead. You can always purchase the digital template pack off of paperbeadrollers.com. It contains files you can use in most paper cutting machines and a PDF version that you can print out right onto your paper. The second bead is 12 millimeters when finished. The bead is made with 2 strips. The first strip is 1/2 wide at one end, going down to 5/16 at the other. It's 8 5/8 inches long. The second strip is 5/16 wide at the start, tapering down to nothing at the other end. This strip is 7 5/8 inches long. The method for rolling this bead is exactly the same as with bead 1, so I'm going to skip it and we'll get straight to bead 3. The third and largest bead is 19 millimeters when finished. Now this bead is made with 4 strips. The first one is 3/4 inches wide at one end and 1/2 inch at the other. It's 10 1/2 inches long. The second strip is a 1/2 inch wide at the start and 3/8 inch wide at the other end. The strip is 10 1/2 inches long. The third strip is 3/8 at one end and 2/8 at the other. It is also 10 1/2 inches long. The fourth strip is 2/8 inches at one end, tapering down to nothing at the other, and it is 7 inches long. Now the method for rolling this is the same as the first 2 beads, except that this bead has more strips. So start with strip 1, and as you finish each strip, attach the next strip right up against the last strip. Now if you leave any gaps, it will be visible on your final bead, so be careful. When you get to the end, tack down that last strip. Now you just need to glaze your beads and you're ready to make some jewelry. I'll link my How to Glaze video up in the corner and at the end of this video in case you've never glazed before. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join me over in my free Facebook group, Paper Bead Fanatics. Happy rolling! Don't forget, the digital template pack is available for instant download over at paperbeadrollers.com.